I love A.W. Tozer. I love seeing him on my newsfeed on Facebook and sharing his wisdom. I loved this book. He explains so many aspects of what it means to pursue God that the average believer probably doesn't take a lot of it into consideration. I know I personally have not learned these principles in church. The problem that I personally have is that the fact that no one really addresses pursuit. God pursues us, much like men and women pursue each other when seeking a mate. Once we have accepted the offer of becoming adopted into the kingdom of heaven, our pursuit does not end. We then spend our time here on earth, choosing daily to pursue God through His Son, Jesus Christ. Much like we shouldn't give up on pursuing our spouses once we're married, we shouldn't give up on our pursuit of God. That is why, for me, a person's life is so telling. If you have healthy relationships, a healthy marriage, kids, and others, then your relationship with Jesus should be reflected in those relationships. If you have a destructive path of relationships and call yourself a Christian, it makes me wonder what your relationship looks like with Jesus Christ. What I find harder to believe is those that struggle most with relationships seem to be, at least in our experience, leading churches. We have always felt, and still do, that if you do not have your house in order, then leading a church should be your last priority. But these things don't seem to be considered when choosing a leader of a church, which seems to send mixed messages to a congregation, especially those that are new to their relationship to Jesus Christ. A.W. Tozer speaks about dying to the cross. Just like Jesus died a painful death, we too must die a painful death to self. He explains it this way. The ancient curse will not go out painlessly. The tough old miser within us will not lie down and die obedient to our command. He must be torn out of our heart like a plant from the soil, and he must be extracted from our soul by violence as Christ expelled the money changers from the temple. I love the way he explains dying to self, and only then can we truly be resurrected as Jesus was, new in creation. A pure heart and only seeking God without hindrance of human nature. That in essence is what we are striving to achieve. I believe that is why my personal journey has been so incredibly difficult. Dying to self isn't for everyone. It takes a willingness to let go and let God. But for a chosen few, God will take that extra time of refining and bring you to a new understanding. A renewing of the mind that isn't about you. Everything you do is about the Creator. Only those who have gone through it can understand it. Not everyone will experience a letting go of self and giving God all of it. It is representing what He has done and continues to do in your life. In fact, this is my year of surrender. And when I gave God everything, my marriage, my kids, my finances, and this ministry, I had no idea He would fry my hard drive and that I would lose over a year of my ministry. But I let go and I let God direct me. I cannot tell you what a challenge it has been to surrender. It all goes to God and to admit that I have no control over such things. Here is what A.W. Tozer says about the removing of the veil. When he talks about the veil, he describes it as being woven of fine threads of the self-life, the hyphenated sins of the human spirit. He specifically lists them as self-righteousness, self-pity, self-confidence, self-sufficiency, self-admiration, self-love, and so forth. They dwell too deep within us and are too much a part of our nature to come out of our attention till the light of God is focused upon them. The manifestations of these sins, egotism, exhibitionism, self-promotion, are strangely tolerated in Christian leaders, even in circles of impeccable orthodoxy. He goes on to explain how promoting self under the guise of promoting Christ is currently so common as to excise little notice. I find that explanation fascinating. How many people do you know, or can you think of, that use Christ as a promotional tool of self? I have a difficult time with this each week. I have a hard time with people attaching their personal names to their ministries. Who are you promoting? For me, this is sharing my journey of what has led me to where I am now, none of which would be without God in my life. In this year of surrender, I find myself struggling with easing back into old habits. But it's a process, and one that I have challenged myself to see through. The process of dying on the cross and what comes after it couldn't be explained any better than the way A.W. Tozer explains it in the Removing of the Veil chapter. He describes it as, the cross is rough, and it is deadly, but it is effective. It does not keep its victims hanging there forever. There comes a moment when its work is finished and the sufferer victim dies. After that is the resurrection, glory, and power, and the pain is forgotten for joy that the veil is taken away and we have entered in actual spiritual experience of the presence of the living God. Who doesn't want that? The work is hard, but the benefit of removing what binds us and separates us from our Creator should outweigh everything we think is important to us. It is truly a changed mindset, perspective, and the way of life. But I wouldn't trade what I have gained for all that the world has to offer. What the world offers is temporary. What God offers is essential and eternal. Where is your veil in your life? Is it blinding you from seeing through it so that you can pursue God to the fullest extent? Or have you removed it already and found the peace and rest in God? One of the places I've learned to go when I'm down and out and feeling low, and trust me, this losing my hard drive pretty much put me there, is I curl up in a fetal position and I picture myself in the lap of Jesus. He strokes my hair. His arms envelop me. He comforts me. This is my happy place. Oh, how I long for the day when eternity will bring me that comfort and joy infinitely.